I'm usually about 80%. So
if you keep us in order. Right?
Yeah, I'm usually about 80%. All right, so I do a quick demo with all of these devices so everybody knows what you're looking at as far as your data tomorrow morning. You're going to have questions about your assigned device. So kind of hang on to those questions. At our next stop, I'll probably be able to answer them all because I will be working with all of you individually to show you more hands-on with your specific device. So thermal imaging, you should be able to see me in there. I'm the orange, red, and yellow guy. So that means I'm the warmest thing inside the picture. If you were a bridal party, I'd be the hottest thing inside the picture. But we also have a blue dot that's bouncing around the screen, giving us the coldest frame, like spot in the frame at that particular moment. So it's helping us guide our eye to those cold spots that Casey actually pointed out. So it's going to help you in your video watching. You will get this full video back. So does this capture something every single night? It does not. I only get really 5 to 7 solid pieces out of this per year, but if I'm not recording, I won't find them, now will I? So we're going to be using this guy all night long. We're going to do a few starts and stops with this. So Tim, with this particular guy, I will kind of direct you on where we're going to start and stop. It is recording now, so everybody knows how to watch the video, and we're going to leave it on record until I give you the cue to stop. As great as this hardware is, this is a FLIR used by firemen to actually help save people. The software sucks. So if we record for too long, we actually lose some footage, and I want you guys to have as much data as possible to be able to go through. So Tim, you're going to hold that horizontal just like that all night long, and that way you can actually watch the video, your hands covering the camera. Perfect. So you're already on it. He's on top of things.
Like, I don't want a job.
Oh, you guys paid me to go to work.
No, he's the fireman, so that's funny that you
perfect.
said that.
I use something like this a lot. Just don't find a fire.
Welcome to Friday nights in Charleston.
It's not too small. Y'all want to see how y'all look in this.
Alright, so this next camera works a lot differently, so I'll do a quick demo. You should not be able to see me in that little small lens right there. It should be pretty dark. We're going to turn on some lights. You should be able to see me now in a purple or pinkish hue.
You look like Whoopi Goldberg.
I know, right?
That's weird.
I might be making some pottery later too. But with this, we are working with IR lighting. This is light you cannot see from your own eyes. We need the camera to be able to see it. So the cool thing about this is we're going to hopefully capture something that we wouldn't normally be able to see with our own naked eye because we're using light that we can't see with our naked eye. But we're also going to be using lasers with this. The lasers actually illuminate any motion that is going on inside the camera at that particular moment. So I'll kind of demonstrate that here in just a minute. Jeff, was it?
Yes.
Look at me. So you're not recording yet, but again, I'd just like to get the cameras out there. Your files that thing creates are giant. So we're only going to get about 45 minutes to an hour of footage out of that guy. Okay. So I'll kind of give you that heads up in a second. Now that we have both cameras out, I want to point something, because we're only going to be using 2 regular cameras. Parking spot. So cameras, people do not like to be filmed. People don't like their cars to be filmed. So in the event we're going to be in spaces where there's going to be parked cars or people walking around, I'll say act casual. So basically, Jeff, you will drop yours and point it at the ground, and then you'll be casually holding a cell phone. So if I was a car thief, however, that would be the first camera I would pick up because I can pick up the exact key signature of the vehicles around me. This is the neuralizer from Men in Black. None of you are going to remember a damn thing when we're done. Lasers. So the reason why we use lasers, like I said, is to detect any kind of motion. Yep. Now, Jeff's camera can see these lasers really, really well. He can see those dots on the ground, but we can't see those lasers until something actually passes through it. So the hope here is that something's going to pass through it, and Jeff's going to be able to capture it on film. In the event that he does, I'll obviously give you the stills for what we actually caught, because we're going to be using 2 different styles of lasers. This one is going to give us red squares. The reason I use red squares on top of the green dots side by side is because if we capture something here, I can put that still from the video inside 3D software and put it and kind of give you the full view of what we actually caught with measurements. So again, Casey, was it? Yep. Okay, the 2 of you are going to be working together. Okay. So lasers stay on the ground, and lasers do not go on cars.
Yes.
They will set off car alarms. I've seen it. So it's never fun. So the pen actually has a little button down here. You got it? You look like you're already somewhat familiar. And the red one does not blind your guide.
Yes, sorry about that.
And it actually has a toggle switch. So once it's on, it's on. You have to be very careful on where it's pointed. So I'll kind of go through those in just a moment. More about that later on. Spirit boxes. Let's get into these. We're going to be using several different types of spirit boxes. So if you're unfamiliar with spirit boxes because you don't watch the TV shows, this is basically going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very quick rate.
Sidewalks,
Kind of like that white
sidewalks.
noise that you guys see and hear on the television shows, and then your host tells you what she thinks they heard in the middle of it, right? We're going to be doing this in real time. However, the disembodied voices you guys hear on TV, most of them are bogus. If they are real, there's actually kind of a rarity to find a disembodied voice that clear. So there's another method you can use, and that is to slow down the radio sweep. So what that does is it allows the radio chatter to come through. That's the song lyrics, the DJs, commercials. Those little tiny bits of words and phrases could have meaning. It's about a 50-50 shot that we can tie to the location of where we are, a person in history we're discussing, or something even going on with one of you. So it happens all the time. The cool thing about this one in particular is it's going to record the entire session for us. Now I have 2 of these I'm going to be handing out. Each one of this red one specifically, because it has a red band on it, those 2 people are going to be using earbuds, so they're going to be the only 2 people that can hear it in real time. Just because we're going to be using several different types of spirit boxes, I don't like for everybody's to kind of overmingle somebody else's. So with that said, this is going to record the entire session, so that way you guys will get the recording back tomorrow morning. So Laura, as you're going through this, I will be writing down what you hear in real time, but I'm also going to spot check this recording to actually give you about 15 to 20 more markers, whether they're relevant or not. If it is relevant, obviously I'm going to tell you why, and then give you the backlink to verify it. So again, you're going to have a set of earbuds in,
Okay.
so you'll be the only one to actually be able to hear it.
So do you want me to say something when I hear it, or?
There'll be certain areas where, like if I'm going through the history of a place, if you can hang on to it, would be great until obviously, I'm done going through that piece of history, so everybody
Okay.
kind of has it, and then I'll say where we at with certain things. But there's certain areas where we're going to stop and investigate and spread out a little bit, so that way I'll keep checking in with you, because I'm going to have to check in with everybody.
Okay.
And this is not an easy job. This is probably the hardest job that we have out here.
Right.
Thank God she got it.
So I got another one. Don't you worry about that.
No, I'm good. Don't speak English.
So yours, you have one button to worry about. It's the volume right
Let me
here.
get my glasses on.
You won't be able to see it anyway. It's black.
Okay.
So there's a wheel right where my finger is, and then you just have to untwist tie the earbud. Most people operate with just one earbud in.
Okay.
So that way you can toggle the volume all you want to back and forth. It will not mess with the recording.
Okay, let me go.
So what I've learned so far today is I shouldn't find my ways with cars.
Yes.
I didn't say driving cars. That's an obvious. I know that. That one's federal law.
Is it really?
Yes.
Any moving vehicle and airplanes.
The issue with airplanes is lasers do spread out over a distance, and at 30,000 feet, it is quite a big beam.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, and it will blind the pilots.
It's a crazy.
You get arrested.
Yeah.
We use them for work. There you go.
Yeah.
Even like a little one like that?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Really?
If I shoot it like across the street, it'll be much
You got
bigger
your
than it looks
earbud
like
in?
I'm assuming his is like the one in my tool
What are you
bag.
hearing?
There's a little filter on the
Static.
front that
It'll
breaks it
change.
out.
Yep.
And
Really?
if you take that off, it's just a straight beam, and it'll shoot
Yep. They're
a
pretty
couple
strong.
thousand feet or so.
They can't, like even a pointer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the point is even worse because all those lumens are going to one area and they're even brighter.
Yeah.
So, Ron, you're going to get the second one.
Okay.
So, again, your volume button is right here. I've already plugged in the earbuds for you, so you just have to plug one into one of your ears and get used to how that guy works.
This is clean.
Yes. The earbuds I do not want back. They've never been used. I buy them in bulk.
The other one you put on the back of your toe.
You got one in one ear and one in the other?
Well, I'm going to probably just do one for now,
Okay.
so I can.
Yeah, that's how most people.
Yeah.
like it.
I'm hearing voices.
Yes.
Of
course you
do. Did I fuck this up somehow?
You cannot.
I believe in your abilities.
It says we
This
are
is one I've
guaranteed.
been wanting one of these.
So this spirit box is brand new. So this one's going to work a little bit differently. It does not use an earbud. As you can hear, there's little tiny bits of static coming out of this. So this one is actually sweeping through both AM and FM radio stations, but is also taking out the white noise. So it's doing its best to try to take out that white noise, and it will only spit out certain things from time to time. The hope here is that we're going to capture a word from time to time, and so far this has given given me about 75% accuracy. I've had it for about 3 weeks, and over those 3 weeks, it's been giving us very relevant terms to those specific locations. Now, again, this one is relatively new, so I kind of focus on this one a little bit throughout the night to say, like, hey, the new SB11 did this in your analysis. So this one is pretty easy to use. The only thing you have to do.
The word easy would be totally appropriate.
I'll let Mark do it.
All you have to do is hold it, right?
Yeah, but this one's easy.
Yeah, he can.
You have one button to worry about. It's the mute button. I'm going to go ahead and mute it now, just so that I can get through the rest of this intro. And it's right here on the side. It's the only button there. So
It's
when I
going to
say
transport me back. 1973.
Oh, no, no, no. I was 10.
Big bumpers.
you guys are pulling out. Oh, like my bag's going to be super empty by the time we're done here.
Isn't that the point?
Yes.
Nice light backpack.
Yes.
Oh.
So, this particular spirit box works a lot different. We don't have to listen to it. It'll actually spit out words from time to time in the middle of the screen, kind of like an ovulus, like what you guys see on TV. There are over 9,200 words in the database of this guy. So it is going to be able to spit out those words completely random. This is a phone app. It is meant to be a game and a hoax. 80% of it doesn't mean anything. It's the other 20%, again, what'll be relative. And again, you're going to get the full list back, and I hang on to it because it does come with a timestamp next to each term and phrase that'll pop up. So it's a lot easier for me to find things on the recordings when I use this timestamps first. I'm going to clear out last night's tour. They had 97 terms come up in their 2-hour tour. That's a lot coming through. Now, Janice, I do not want to know every single word that comes through. I will come to you when I want to see the list.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll be out here till like 3 in the morning.
Okay, so I just hold it.
Just hold it. Nice and easy.
Got it.
And you thought you wanted to do All right. EMF detectors. So these guys are pretty much a necessity as we're going throughout the night. So you guys have probably seen these on TV. This is going to measure electromagnetic fields. So what does that mean? Cell phones, wiring, buildings, anything like that. So it will make those things go off. This one in particular helps me debunk things pretty quickly before I go into the detailed other one I'm going to go into. So if you wanted something nice and easy to do, hold it and let me know what colors you see. How about that? That one's an easy one. So this one actually has 3 different functions. So Santi, was it?
Yes.
Say that properly?
Yeah. You got a good
I'm a writer.
Even I
All
can't
their
remember.
characters to me. They're all going to end up in a book somewhere. No.
All right.
So this one is called a millimeter. It has 3 different functions. So
You're leaving us very
I'm losing your name. Greg. I'm sorry.
It's
Of course, you tell me how great of a job I'm doing. You're the one name I forgot. So Greg's device goes up to 25. Your big numbers up here go all the way up to 200 and are way more accurate. Again, this one is to help me debunk. This one actually gives us a little bit more of an accurate reading. Anything above 2.5 is Greg's second green dot on his device. So anything above 2.5, I want to know what's going on.
So I'll know that when I can see the secondary line.
Right. And it has different range of colors, and I have them memorized so that way I know how to write it down. The bottom number is ambient temperature. If Tim finds something on his camera, you and I can measure it and see if it's an actual legitimate anomaly, if it's something coming from something man-made, with this yellow probe at the top. So again, the bottom number is temperature. The third thing that it does, and we don't use this all the time because it can be very distracting as I'm going through the history, it has a motion sensor in it. It's going to go off because we're still pretty close to some electrical lines, but the gist behind this is if something actually gets pretty close to that antenna, it's going to go off. So the closer it goes, the higher the pitch is going to go, and I'll tell you more about those colors as we kind of move into that next spot. So I'm going to turn this off now because it's going haywire for some odd reason. It's more than likely due to the electrical lines just in my life. So focus for now on those big numbers, and I'll be following up with you throughout the night to see where our readings are at. Oh, you guys are going to make me talk a lot. So I'm already going to go through some water.
Thank you, vodka. I mean, water.
Yeah, it's purely water.
Okay.
But as long as that beginning piece is on there for everybody to know how to watch it. But
There we go.
all right.
It's a square now.
Yep.
Okay.
Square as before. Don't pay attention to the timer, by the way.
I won't.
All right. So a couple of things, guys. First off, if there is a skeptic among you, meaning somebody here does not believe in ghosts, I don't want to know who it is. I'm going to use Tim as the example. If Tim is my example and he does not believe in ghosts and he tells me about it, I'm going to focus on Tim all night long, trying to prove that the paranormal lives in Charleston. Yes, that's a pun, that the ghosts live here. So, because ghosts don't live, right? They're already dead. So, sorry I had to explain that joke, but it worked out. But anyway, the other thing tonight, guys, is I want you to treat your entire time with me as kind of a ghost hunting 101. We are going to be leveling up through different levels as we go out throughout the night. This is a very easy spot, obviously, because I need to show you more about your devices. We will not spend a lot of time here. So where the heck are we? We're at the big red barn lot. This is where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. So in the summertime, you can smell them pretty bad. Luckily, we're not here. The only history here is really, really simple. This is the same red barn where we held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's it. That's all I got. 1860s and 1920s. So let's talk about spirit boxes first, because we have a lot of them in play. First off, this is not television. This is not, is somebody here? Like everybody wants to ask. Like that's everybody's first question. If somebody answers no, that means somebody's here. So we're going to stay away from yes and no questions all night long.
Okay.
Oh, he's hitting buttons over there. So, like, where'd the red light come from? So, with that said, in a space like this, we would normally ask questions that we know the answers to, just so you get used to listening to those spirit boxes, like, what color is the big red barn? Obviously, we're going to be looking, because Janice has a word list that she's looking at, and listening for the color red. However, we're using song lyrics and DJs to convey messages back to us. The word red might not be in the vocabulary just as of yet. So, the word fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. To me, that would be an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that. However, most of the nights, you guys are here for paranormal proof. So, I'm going to need something to verify another clue that's actually happening. For example, let's say Janice's word list has the word art on it. And Mark, you hear the number 40. Individually, they don't mean anything. Put them together, but Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Does that make sense now, how I have to put those two words together? We're going to be talking about colonial times in the 1800s, where Georges and Elizas and Charleses were very common names. We need to know who the hell we're talking to. So I always look for that secondary clue. It's one thing to hear the name Charles, but I need to know which Charles we're actually talking to. So that's kind of how we're going to be using our spirit boxes throughout the night. As we go through each space, I may give you impromptu questions. There might be some questions where we don't have to ask any questions at all. And as far as the cameras, let's get into those. Tim, you're going to try to do two things for us. You're going to try to obviously keep somebody in view, because you know our skin temperature is going to be the warmest thing out here, and it gives us an array of color. I don't think I have to explain this to you, but this way they all know why you're going to be pointing it at people.
Right.
You're also going to try to keep the sky out of view, because that blue dot will default to the sky. Some of the spaces we're going to tonight, that may be impossible. So just do your best.
Okay.
Defaulting that blue dot to the sky gives us basically false positives, and we just have to watch more. Jeff, your camera. So, Casey, do me a favor and point one of your lasers down on the ground for me. So basically, you just did exactly what we don't want you to do. I want you to take 2 to 3 steps backwards. Perfect. And you're going to be shooting through the laser. We're basically going to be looking in here. Right? Okay. We don't want to be looking down at the dots. We already know what the dots look like. The slower the two of you can move, the better. Okay. Obviously, we're looking for motion. So again, you don't want to go any further than, I'd say, 2 to 4 feet out. And Jeff, you're going to try to work 3 to 5 feet away as you're recording. Now go ahead and come back into the circle. So stay right there for a second. In the event that somebody gets too close, you see how the IR light kind of bleached my hand out? You can turn off the short range light, and the long range is still working for us. So my hand should still appear purple, but it's not bleached out. At your discretion, there's a little red button right there. Got it. Perfect. You're on top of it. When I say we're going to go ahead and start recording with yours, you're going to hit this guy until it starts flashing. That guy does like to lock up from time to time. Some nights it's great, other nights not so much. So we may stop the video every 2 to 3 minutes just to make sure I can splice it all together and we have a full cohesive video. I think as far as everybody else, I think we already have. Janice, do we have any words that have been popping up? We got the word book. Go ahead and hold it still for me. Let's take a look to see if anything else has popped up. Coast, Blake, consonant. That's a weird one. Okay, so far we've got absolutely nothing. Good deal. Has anybody else heard anything on their spirit boxes before we actually get away from
Why do you want me to have this on?
You had it on a little while.
I did.
And that's perfectly fine. So, like, as we go to the next spot, you can be listening in. Okay. Even as I'm going through the history of the next space, you can have that on, unless I'm getting too distracted.
This went to 3 colors.
That's good. That's what I've been waiting for. That particular device will either give us quite a bit.
It went to orange, like a light orange.
So 15 milligauss. Sante, have you gotten anything on yours?
20.
That's 2.0.
No, I know it's 0.
Oh. Well, no, hang on. You actually changed something, because you were hitting some buttons back there. So you should have a 0.0 up there, so that very well may have been a 20. I've seen you flashing that red light.
It was a ghost.
It wasn't his hand.
It was that was host ghost.
Ghost with the most.
Ooh.
What does range should I answer?
You know what's funny is one night, I think it was one night last, a gentleman was using that like it was a telephone. Like he was talking business to all my ghosts. It was hysterical. There you go. See how it says 0.0? Yeah. So we want to make sure it's good on there. You don't need to hit anything on the front. All right. I say we get away from football players and ponies. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go this way. Heard anything on yours yet?
Just music.
And again, you're listening for that, so it could be the lyrics that's trying to convey that message. So if you hear, drop it like it's hot, or you know what I mean, as funny as you think it might be, it might actually mean something along those lines.
Take a left on East Bay Street, then 350 feet. The destination is on your right.
You guys still taking directions?
Take a left on East Bay
Oh.
Street.
No. Well,
Who's
yes, I
playing the theme
am.
song?
He was doing good. Has it been done before?
What are you doing?
I was
I get
still
all the
getting
jokes.
directions.
Oh.
That's you. You figured out where you was going?
Yeah, I now know where I'm at.
We're actually getting directions from their parking space. Oh my God, so you know. All right. So, welcome to another beautiful space in Charlestown.
It's another parking lot, right?
But this space used to be something. This is where we start deep diving into the history of Charlestown. So, what was this space? This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney mansion. Their mansion sat in the front of this lot. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Foot Restaurant, or that truck over there, and came all the way across. And we are standing where the servant and slave quarters were for the home. So, first off, spirit boxes. I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You will get the answers from your spirit boxes. Ron, have you heard anything on that guy yet?
I heard actually, seriously, I don't know, maybe I played with it, but I heard sort of like a moaning noise. Don't laugh.
I'm getting 3 live.
I see that.
Maybe I fucked it up, but I mean, I did hear, I thought like a low song. Does that make sense? I mean, like,
It's in your office.
I have no idea where it is. But maybe I
There's no
fucked
way
it
you
up.
could have messed it up. As long as it's not. Yeah, you're sweeping.
Okay.
I mean, you're going to a
Keep your ear
No,
open.
no.
You're good here.
There you go.
I
It's a lot
don't-
easier here now. Slow it down.
So that
Alright,
there was
thanks.
like an estate here, a mansion like that?
Oh, we're gonna
When
go-
was that tore down?
It was owned by Eliza and Charles Pinckney. So, we're going to talk about who these people were. So, that'll kind of answer all of those questions. So, Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses in case you lost track. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. Big deal for us, but you guys are all on vacation. Nobody wants to talk about politics, including me, so we're going to move on. You okay with that? Good. Because that's what's going to happen anyway. So, here's what we're going to talk about. Eliza. She was way cooler anyway. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if you ask her how old she was when she got married, it's not going to be 12 or 14. It would be according to today's standards. The reason I bring this up is because Charles was over double her age. So you can ask what their ages were once we start separating out a little bit. So she married Charles because her father, over in England, thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his children one last time. Well, Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put. This is 1744. There's no such thing as marrying for a green card or citizenship. We're not even a country yet. I know, Ron, history can get very boring.
No, I'm sorry.
So, with that said, Dad got better, which means Eliza was right, and Dad starts sending gifts to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Several of us have it on tonight. That's how we use it today. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated in our weird temperatures because it's not always hot here. And then she moved it to a plantation, calls her dad and says, we can make a killing because the rice plantations are going downhill. So that's Eliza's business because now she's an international businesswoman, something absolutely unheard of during colonial times. So let's talk about the weird stuff about Eliza because that's why all of you are here. You want the weird stuff. So Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. Really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. So you can ask which Eliza we're dealing with by asking her her maiden name, and hopefully we get it. The mansion's not here anymore. You can obviously ask what happened to it and what year did that tragedy occur. Obviously, we're looking for very specific things, not yes or no questions here. Eliza's children, I told you there's at least one. There are more. You can ask how many and what their names were. That's about it. Here's why. There's a tragedy among those children. If we poke the bear too much, all activity will stop, including Greg's reading from the EMF. So, again, I've seen it go all the way down to 0, and we get nothing out of the rest of the night. I don't know what kind of trump she puts on the rest of my tour, but that's just the way it goes down. You can kind of tell when somebody's been poking that bear too hard. Names and how many, and that's all. As far as Eliza's death, that's where she's really open. You can ask her how old she was when she died. You can ask her what she died from, where is she buried, and what president was a U.S. a pallbearer at her funeral. So that's a pretty big deal too. Yeah, I seen your head turn. That's a huge deal. So again, if you can't, remember all of those questions, that's okay. Find one or two and focus on those. We are going to spread out in this lot. However, it is a Friday night, which means there's a lot of vehicles here. We're not going to be going in between vehicles, in front of vehicles. Definitely not going to be filming vehicles. If somebody's going to their car or passing through the lot, cameramen, if you can obviously do the act casual bit that we talked about earlier. And of course, Casey, be very careful with those lasers. You're kind of restricted in this area. But this is one of the places where we can use them. Just make sure they're centralized and you have them under control. As for everybody else, the only person I need to work with is Santi to work with his REM pod, his motion sensor. But everybody else, we can kind of spread out and start asking questions and see what we kind of follow along. We should be following Greg with his, and then of course once I release Santi with his device, we'll be able to follow him to see where the hot spots are. All right, so let's talk about. Oh, you want to get yours?
Get anything? You get anything? What is it? What is the color I'm looking for? Well, I am. I'm just shining it all around. But what is the ghostly color?
What?
What's the ghost color?
The blue.
Was it big? What was it like? Anything
take a look at your word list. So when I say that, I want you to hit that little white box, and that way.
Yeah, oh my God, you're lighting up on me. Girl, you in danger.
He's gonna be backing up probably.
Sorry.
This guy's fixing to back up, I think.
Hysteria.
Oh, I'm not. I just don't want to get run over.
Everybody watch the vehicle. There's only one way in and out of here. That's the way we came in.
You're scaring her.
Lawn shoes are reflective.
I know.
You getting any of them?
Laura, have you gotten anything in?
Tell you stuff that's happened to me, but then I felt something around me and then it went away.
Okay. In what area?
Um,
Where were we?
Over there a little bit, and I just felt like something was around me, and I was trying to ask who was at her funeral, how many children she had. I was like, I'm here to learn about you, and I felt something and it was gone.
Okay.
So,
And I want to make sure you're getting the gist on how to listen to that. So
I'm hearing, okay, go ahead.
So you see the radio station sweeping through, right? And every once in a while you'll get a word or a little snippet from a DJ or something like that.
Right.
If you can make that out, that's what I want you to be listening for.
That's what I'm listening for, and it's just,
I know it's not easy.
it's just a lot. But when I was over there, I had a cold feeling. When I go into a historic hardware at our hometown, I have to leave. The owner is like all around me. It put something out in the aisle right after I walked by. I turned around and it was there. So when I have a feeling, you can ask him. When I have a feeling, and if it's evil, I will walk away.
We're not going to be dealing with
No,
that.
I know, but I mean, I'm
You don't
just
want to mess with
saying.
little demons, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I have feelings, I have dreams. People come to me in dreams that I've died, and
Well, I'll be honest, the real sensitive ones on the tour, those are usually the ones that don't make it all the way through because their headache's pounding or they collapse or they passed out or something. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on you throughout the night, just so you know.
but when we get through, I'll show you
Yeah.
some stuff.
His camera locked up.
Hold on. Let me sit there.
That's why I'm going to go in little snippets because whenever you put it throws on, we lose all that footage.
Okay.
So just so you kind of know, so yeah, we're going to have to just start and stop it every maybe 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to splice them all together anyway, it doesn't matter. So, but yeah, so whatever we did record, we lost it. Okay. Anything crazy coming up on yours, Sam?
No, just all these.
3.5,
Everybody.
go.
3.9, 1.7, 8.8, 6.1, 2.3, 2.2, 34.7, 20.6. They're all here.
Okay, so at this point, we've obviously
3.2.
got anything above 34. That's the highest one you've given me so far. That way you don't have to shout out every single number. Spirit boxes, somebody should be hanging out like right here, obviously, to kind of be listening in and see what's going on.
That will give full power.
Yeah, you've obviously got similar readings, because you can go all the way to 25.
And I've been talking to her.
So what happened here? How many people died?
Fuck, I heard hello.
I'm more interested to see what's going to come out of that one, because that one's probably the most accurate one I have. Watch your lasers, Casey. You were a little close to that part. Yeah.
Okay. We're gone again.
Hear me?
You made things very exciting, and I can't thank you enough.
31. 31.9.
Well, this is where I had the most activity before.
Reset. Janice, let's take a look at your word list. Let's see what we got going on there.
You know, something's
She's strong. She doesn't like when everybody's around.
Casey, your purse is also
Again, it's the 1, 2, and
I heard the word family.
oh, your family show up here. It's almost a guarantee.
We just heard Preston.
Which president will I be
He's very strong over here.
A fire?
What'd you get?
Fire?
Yes. You always want to keep that horizontal. Otherwise, we're going to be watching a sideways
Do
video.
what now?
You want to keep it horizontal.
Like,
Yep.
like this?
No, horizontal. There you go. That way. And
Yeah,
with the
that's
camera to
vertical.
your left.
Right.
So, otherwise, we'll be watching a sideways
Okay,
video.
what did I just hit?
You usually broke it. No, I'm kidding.
I did not break it.
Yeah, it just pops in and out. Unlike the other camera. I made that one nice and easy to get that.
Yeah, that's why you gave it to me.
Anything else popping up here, Bob?
9?
9.
You know, this is strong over here.
We have a spirit box, and you don't want to
This is
sit
very-
scatter. She doesn't
this
like when
is-
everybody's here.
Now she's pretty strong. She'll get used to Ron. Well, she was used to
That's why we call it ghost hunting. You never stay in the same spot.
She's like,
There was something. I don't know what it was.
I heard rat hole. Rat hole.
I heard the word hungry. Feed me.
Feed me. Somebody must have heard
Could that be a possibility? I need a drink, she said. Eliza's thirsty, she said.
Oh, my name shows up here. All right, let's go back to the back. We'll kind of piece this all together. Let's kill the lasers and the videos. It's part of the reason why Spirit Box is down and why we use earbuds now, just because with 5 or 6. What'd you do? Hit something.
Everybody's hitting something.
2, 4,
see pretty colors.
Alright, so where are we? We're in Lodge Alley. Obviously, we just met the ghost of Lodge Alley. So when we crossed over that last crosswalk,
He's coming after us again.
is he?
Here he comes. Oh, he shows up too.
He's just dropping the garbage off. When we crossed that last crosswalk coming over, where I made us all wait because cars were getting a little nutty, that was where the original Charlestown Walls used to be. So Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city, and it was that way on purpose, which means you are standing on one of the very first streets we ever had in Charleston. So,
Ron's trying.
a couple of things here. Did you guys hear any names along the way?
We were called names, but I didn't hear
You were called names? We didn't hear any names on spirit boxes? Ron, nothing on yours?
I was listening on the way.
Okay. Nothing came through? Alright, so the names I commonly get here are Benjamin and John. Here's the reason why. Benjamin and John, I have the full list of residents of the people that used to live here. Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. I know that doesn't sound very significant, but when I say people lived here, I'm only talking like 2 to 6 people at a time. So it wasn't like the inch of this block was filled with housing. So 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801, I get that every 6 to 7 weeks. Right now we're approaching that 5 to 6 week mark. I'm still trying to find that sweet spot of where exactly they fall. But it's kind of, again, that residual goes. It's like watching a movie on loop over and over and over again. Here's why I believe this is happening. Because I don't have anything significant about 1801. I've dug and dug and dug about this specific location and these 2 gentlemen coming through all the time.
Double. That's the only word I've heard.
Okay. Double. Good, keep them coming. You're standing on Belgian blocks. Now, Belgian blocks are made straight from granite. If you do know anything about, paranormal anything, you've probably heard the term limestone before, where it actually stirs up and hangs on to the consciousness and memories. Well, it does that because it's straight from the earth. Well, granite is also straight from the earth. These bricks have been here since 1735. So, again, they're straight granite. How many memories are sitting in these bricks right now, just being replayed over and over and over again? Every once in a while, a third name will pop up. That name is Jane, also 1801. Just last week, it was funny because somebody said, I heard the name John, and then another person said, well, I heard Johnson. The funny thing is John's last name, the one I referred to, his last name was Johnson. So John Johnson was his name, and we had his full name that showed up in one specific night. So take that for what it's worth. Before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, which is why it gets its name, Lodge Alley. We do get terms like Freemason, Mason, Brick that obviously relate to the Freemasons, but we also get the term Illuminati that likes to show up here about 4 or 5 times per year. So take that for what it is. I chuckle every time I hear it, just because I really don't get into conspiracy theories, but at the same token, you can't mistake what we're hearing in this space when we're here. So they did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks. They found the residents, like clothing and tools and that kind of thing, considered them lower class. So you just do this if you'd like to hear about buildings and architecture. So the people that lived here were basically in shotgun houses. So basically, you guys know that's 1 and 2 room houses. So it makes sense that they were lower class. The other reason it makes sense is because across the street on East Bay is where the other side of the wall would have been. Those buildings we see down there wouldn't have been there. So that means the smell of low tide is going to come through here often. The rich people of Charleston are not going to put up with that. If you've been down to the Battery, I'm sure you've noticed that the houses are skinny in the front and they go long back. There's 2 reasons for that. First off, you were taxed based on how much street side you took. The skinnier your house, the less taxes you pay. So the Pinckney mansion site that I showed you was broad against East Bay Street. That was bragging rights because they're politicians and indigo farmers. They have money. They can pay the taxes to show off their house. The other reason those houses are skinny is because they have piazzas, a front porch with a door. That door is to help keep the smell of low tide from coming in low. You open up the 2nd-story window and it brings in the cool air from the water that helps air condition the house because cool air drops and heat rises. So again, that's the reason why I like to show that off here, because that smell of low tide would be coming through here. And we do get some of those specific tools every once in a while on spirit boxes of what they actually found here. In the report with all the residents' names, they also give us the report of the artifacts that were found here, which is very interesting for a guy like me that keeps deep diving into history. So, the next space we're going to go to is another alley. However, I can't take you all the way through it like what we're doing here because I've been kicked out of it. You guys came on a tour with the gizmos and gadgets and blinky lights and all that stuff. It is considered residential at the end. I will tell you why I've been booted out of there once we get there, because it's actually relevant to a later on story with the dates and the way they actually match up, the stuff I can't make up. But even going to that area and still talking about what actually happened there, because we're going to be discussing duels. It was called Duelers Alley. So it kind of stirs things up, and we always get at least one or two phrases that actually occurred there. Where's that red light? Is that red light coming from here? You probably had something in your pocket.
I have those.
Yeah, there it was. Yeah, you were flashing it on the wall. That's okay. Sorry, bad dad with those. But as we kind of go through the rest of this alley, we can continue to film, but we are going to be cutting through a neighborhood. So you'll cut your video off as we exit the alley, unless you want to turn around and actually get some footage going the opposite way for a minute or two and then just catch up with us. You can do that. Perfectly fine. We're still on a no laser zone, so sorry, Casey. But spirit boxes, I am always interested to see what you guys are hearing, and of course you'll be able to get yours and play too once we start walking again. Again, this isn't a space where we actually stop and ask questions. We basically wait to see if something's going to pop through. So let's go up to that next alley and see if we can capture up there and see what we got going on. They're still running?
Yeah, still running.
Good deal.
Oh, hey, how many colors? There we go.
I think Janice is leading the tour now.
I think she's doing a great job.
I am going to cut in front of you so that way you know which way to go. I will take the front.
Someone that was older. Truck coming.
Same thing on your end. People do like to walk through here. We're getting to the more popular areas, just so you guys know. So, okay. Like I always do a head count from time to time, make sure I don't lose anybody at a bar. So, she's like, I almost did, didn't you? See? All right. So, this alley behind me is called Philadelphia Alley now, but it used to be called Duelers Alley, like I mentioned earlier. First off, let me see where we're at with the word list real quick, just so you can kind of see. Sorry, I'm honest with you. I don't want you to, I'm not going to make stuff up for you guys. So, we all tell the story at once. So, here's the way the story goes. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Black. He moves down here because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this money. The attorney thinks that the doctor's just after Amanda's passed, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor.
I know,
He moves to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start in Charleston. Somebody walking by, seeing that the doctor's about to be killed, a new stranger in town, and stops and says, "You don't want to stay here. Let me stop on the guy's name." His name was Ralph Isaacs, the guy who stopped and tried to save the doctor. I stop on Ralph's name because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. R.I. shows up here a lot. You're ghost hunting. You're not just listening to stories. Initials mean something. You might want to get a little bit more casual than that. These other tours get a little funny, just so you know. They're always like, don't film this.
Is this casual now?
Yes, that's good. Yeah, looking like a YouTuber, not so casual. Okay, the screen's in. But anyway, so he says, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gun inside. He's going to try to kill you. Now, I have some friends at 59 Church Street where you can stay, rent a room, and you'll be safe and good to go. So the doctor makes him up on the offer. 59 Church Street is said, and the doctor's saved, and the two become friends. The doctor's practicing. He's making his own money now. He's got lots of it coming in. And Amanda's going down soon. So he becomes known as the whistling doctor because he whistles all the time. Now it sounds cheesy and corny, and yes, every haunted city you will ever go to has a whistler. ours is a doctor. Just last night, as I'm going through the spirit box recording from last night's tour, I forget which song it was. Maroon 5, where the whistling is coming in. You guys know what song I'm talking about? Yeah, came through as we were standing right here. 3 nights before that, Guns N' Roses, Patience, the whistling portion of that song came through. Whistling will show up here all the time. So again, the whistling doctor. So Ralph and the doctor go see plays together, but now that the doctor's making more money than him, they can't sit next to each other. So that's just, he gets better seats. That's just the way the hierarchy went. They go see William III one night, and they have to talk about these plays on the way home. They're discussing the new actress. The doctor thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing. It gets even more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, and he puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. So the doctor sees that ad and says he's pretty pissed off now. Let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. Somebody's going to die. So they come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to prove his point and have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph has one bullet and puts it in the kneecap. Sorry, Janice, you're just in front of me tonight. I normally try not to shoot a woman. But,
She heals quick.
Okay, good. So he shoots the doctor in the kneecap. So the doctor doesn't die either, but Ralph proved his point, and he's still pissed. The doctor doesn't die. His friends pick him up and they carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. Remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself by bleeding it out. So they say as you walk through here, you can hear the whistles. So it's a pretty big deal. When I was taking my groups down there, it was a matter of listening to the regular audio. Keep in mind, all of us locals know the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley when we pass it. I do it every single night after every tour because we end there, my garage is right there. So again, I throw a whistle every single night. When my daughter's on the tour, we race and see who's going to throw the whistle first. So it's just a fun little game that we play. Now, do I have whistles I can't debunk? I do, because I know the locals are obviously going to be very loud. I do have very faint whistles in the background. They also say you can hear gunshots here, but I don't have any proof of that. So here's why I got thrown out, because this is the fun part of the story, right? So this alley didn't always come all the way through. So obviously there was kind of a wall right here. Those bricks on the other side are old bricks. They are sun-dried bricks from slave children. I like to point that out as we were walking through the alley because yes, there's a full from a young child slave and fingerprint swipes through some of those bricks. And I do treat those bricks the same way I would any kind of grave. They're not hanging out staring at that brick in the afterlife. However, everybody wants to put a spirit box. Well, unfortunately, it's right outside the gentleman's dining room window, and we got caught with it. That night was November 26th. Yes, I remember the date. How to tour. The next night was Black Friday and a full tour. I got a phone call that morning from the tourism office that I needed to reroute, which is what was allowed. So I decided to reroute and start getting into the pirate story towards the end of that tour. I didn't know much about that pirate story, so I told my team we're going to wing it and see what happens. Well, somebody heard the number 300 and somebody else hears the name Anne. I'm talking about Anne Bonny, the female pirate. I don't know what the number 300 means until I go through the research the next day. We were there on November 28th, 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th, 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. And I stamped my foot with, damn it, now I have to talk about pirates? I mean, the vampires? Pirates are not my thing. However, I have read a ton of books on piracy since that day, trying to piece all of this story together to see, because there's so many lores, and everybody's got a different version. We're talking 300-year-old lore. But again, it's part of the reason why I got booted out of this. Let's reroute things and see what happens. Spirit boxes, have we had anything come up while we've been here? Ron, anything come up out of yours? Yeah. Janice, anything come up on yours? Laura, anything? Obviously on mute.
No, I just the last minute.
Alright, so we'll go ahead and stop the videos again. Again, I usually have
The spirits are calling him to that little green building.
yeah.
Guys, I'm upset.
This is spiritual.
Okay, so this is our last stop. This is kind of a crazy whopper of a story, and this is, again, I told you I read a ton of books on pirates to try to clue this together for you. The things that I'm about to tell you are the things that were among multiple books only. So if it just came out of one book, I kind of omitted it, so that way we can actually look for factual things based on pirates. We're going to be discussing that little building over there with the crosses on it. I want to point out that those are not crosses, those are earthquake bolts. If you're unfamiliar with earthquake bolts, they're basically turnbuckles. So in the event we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886, we haven't had them since, nothing major, they say you can turn those turnbuckles and you can straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, but it just doesn't work. So the reason I bring these ones up is because these are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in. Why? Because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. This is the gunpowder magazine. It served in 7 different wars, including the Civil War. We talked about the Charlestown Walls earlier. That parking garage that you guys see, the 5-tier one over there, that's where the walls stood. It wasn't that tall, but it did go up Cumberland Street, just past the powder magazine, and started going south, which is basically behind me this way, on purpose. It puts it into the corners of the wall on purpose. So in the event that it gets hit from a Revolutionary warship or a pirate ship from 3 blocks away, that cannonball is going to have a hard time making it through the 32-inch thick walls. So let's say it does, and hits the gunpowder and blows it up. There's sand underneath that roof that's supposed to blow up with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's another great idea that doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It got hit, the sand went up, and obviously caught fire, and the sand was unable to put out the fire, so the building burned to the ground. This one has just never been attacked because it's too far away. So we're here because this building took 10 years to build, right? It doesn't sound like our government at all, does it, Janice? 10-year small building? The story actually begins right in the middle of its construction. We are here because this building is familiar to our female pirates. This is kind of like using a toy to try to attract a child. This is what I call a familiar. So, let's get into it. 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Emf. She moves here with her dad and his mistress. The mistress happens to be her mother. Are you guys with me so far? There's a lot of twists and turns in this one. So the 3 of them are running away from his wife. How mad was she that they ran away in 1708 on a boat all the way from Ireland to land here? So they land in Georgetown, just north of here. Dad buys a plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly. So that means Dad has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. Now, young Anne back home in Ireland, she was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was like 7 or 9 years old with a knife to the belly. So, I mean, she was pretty hardcore. Keep that mentality in your brain as I tell you the rest of the story. We're going to fast forward. This building was done in 1713. In 1715, pirates are coming through town. Anne still falls in love pretty quickly. The guy's name is James Bonny. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. I'm not going to approve either. So they run away to Jamaica. Anne Cormac marries him, and she becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age, and her career started right here. Now, when they get down there, James Bonny is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking, Captain Jack Sparrow type of pirate that we all think of. He was a privateer, which basically means he's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. This is not who she wanted. A few years later, she falls in love again, guy number 2. His name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. We're going to refer to him as Jack through the rest of the story. Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of it. Can't put a girl on the crew because girls curse pirate ships. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew and be a female in my quarters. He's the captain. Now, Anne's okay with this because back home in Ireland, Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy to keep her hidden from his wife. So she's good with this. Now she's a pirate. So let's put 2 and 2 together. Obviously, being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant, right? You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out. Gets everybody every time. So he drops her off in Cuba. These are some friends of mine. They'll help you out with delivering the baby. Come back later and we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby. She returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to this kid. Also, she's dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. She's pissed. This makes Jack also pretty pissed off. Jack just captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting to make Jack even more mad because that's what Anne does. We're on guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. Yes, I practiced that in front of the mirror. I seen the look on Greg's face. So, he said that fast. So now we have 2 females dressed as males, same ship, kind of crazy stuff. Her name is Mary Reed. Now, she convinces Mary to become part of the crew, to become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for sure. And the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet to come take down one little pirate ship. As they're obviously too drunk to come up and fight, Anne and Mary are the only two that weren't drunk to come up and fight, with their one bullet flintlocks, trying to save the ship. Obviously, they're going to go down. The British, as they're arresting them, Anne looks at Jack and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." So the word dog shows up here as a key word, often with beer boxes as well. The judge, his name is Nicholas Lodge. He wants to see the two men that fought back so valiantly by themselves after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken sailors that wouldn't come up and fight. Anne and Mary go in front of the judge. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still looking at them as pirates. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they said, both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman. What do you got?
What's the noise?
I have no idea.
All right.
Sounds like fireworks somewhere.
Fireworks.
Cannonballs.
Can
I know, right?
confirm.
Yeah, we're not in Philadelphia Alley here in Canada. But at any rate, so where was I? Oh, we plead our bellies. Can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal, so he sends them both back to jail to delay the hanging. Dad is still here in Charleston with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne. She remarries. That's husband number 2, guy number 4. Yes, we're counting Mary Reed because we don't know. Has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. That's all we know.
What happened to the other one?
Love how he's all into it. Mary Reed dies a year later in 1721 in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Probably scurvious and cocaine gross and whatever else you're going to come up with. We don't know if either pregnancy was true. This is a space where you guys get to ask whatever you want, but I did leave out 2 facts for sure, so that way you at least have something to get started with. The name of Anne Bonny's parents, that's the father and the mistress, and the name of Calico Jack's ship. So, interesting story here. I told you at the beginning of the tour that people have passed out on my tour, and sometimes it's relevant to the story. This is one of those instances. Back in September, I brought my team back here, about a group this size, and before I begin telling the story, the kid next to me literally goes white as a ghost. I mean, white as a ghost, and he starts to pass out. I pick him up by his armpit and carry him over to that brick wall, get him to have a seat. I send his boyfriend over to get him a bottle of water. They come back, he's having the water, he's feeling better. I then tell the story, so they don't know the story yet. I send everybody out to go play with their devices and gizmos. They pull me aside. "Nick, we have to tell you something." "What's going on?" "We are 2 transgender males, meaning I have 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary on my tour. The minute we entered the space was when one of them about passed out to the ground. So take that for what it's worth. When I say people have passed out on my tour, luckily I didn't have to call the EMTs or paramedics that night, so that was good. And they were totally fine with me telling the story because they are part of it now. So it's a pretty big deal. But again, when I tell people they haven't passed out, that's a big deal. So in this space, for you, those of you with video and lasers, you can go to the very front of the powder magazine and get some footage up there. The only thing I ask is that you do not interrupt the tour because the tour stop there, and they will tell their story just so we can move on, and then you can get us a little bit of footage. Everybody else, as far as spirit boxes, we definitely want to be watching and listening. And as far as EMF goes, this is not a high EMF area. If you get a stray from somebody, I want to know because definitely something else is going on somewhere else. So definitely let's get that one unmuted, Mark. Good job. I think I got everybody's name down.
What'd you do to it?
Getting on my toes for sure.
I don't think I did nothing to it. You tired?
Wow.
Got 3 work, 3.
What is that?
Where'd Marcus go?
How are we doing on yours?
I got God in My Arms, Lifetime, and Married. It was that song from the 80s. I
Which
just
one?
died in.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Survivor?
No, that was
Just died in your arms.
tonight.
I know the
Must
song.
have been
Bless you.
something I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came
Okay.
out clear. And I was like, oh, I haven't heard that in a while.
Anything crazy going on in the front lawn? You guys head up there? Yeah. Any readings coming out of you, Santi? Nothing at all?
They're all gone on break.
They're all gone on break. So we're missing, where's Mark? I want to see what's going
Oh,
on with
he's
his.
coming out of the spiritual room.
Oh.
Wonder what he found in there.
I know, right?
Sounds like a good idea.
And no, Rod says it's funny.
No, like, it was great. Even after, no, it was fine.
Anything in the greenhouse?
Any ghosts?
All I got is what?
Is that smell? So I will tell you, the first 2 nights I used that, the same name came up consecutive nights. And then a week later I had the same name pop up again. And I never tell people until we're at the very end. And it's the name David. And I don't know what it means here, but I keep getting the name David out of this specific, the box you're holding, 3 different times. Again, I've only had this device for 3 weeks. So I can't find any relevance to a David anywhere relative to pirates, the powder magazine, the history of it. I may, but I just got to keep digging. The more it pops up, it's just like that Benjamin and John thing. It took me a year and a half to figure that one out, but I finally found it. The word list has been pretty weak. I do like what you've gotten so far. Like, everything seems to be somewhat relevant, and you do have a very specific name in there, which is awesome. So what we're going to do is you guys keep listening. We're going to head over to that wall. We'll get this party wrapped up since we don't have any other like EMF readings. Greg, has yours gone off at all?
No, it's
Okay.
like
Yeah, that is a doornail. No pun intended.
Now when you see a cross, you can wonder if it's crooked.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crooked too.
And it's not a cross.
It's not. It's more like.
Yeah, you can sit down and explain it. All right, so I like to show you guys what Anne looked like, so that way you guys can get a gist on that. So this is one of the few pictures I can find of her with a shirt on. Anne likes to bare a breast to show the men she killed that they were just killed by a woman. I told you she was a badass. So I like to show this picture off because you can obviously see the flintlocks that she's holding. If you're unfamiliar with what those type of guns are, it was very common during those early 1700s times, and then of course they evolved into the 1800s. I'm not a gun person, but obviously I do a lot of research on flintlocks. So again, that's the basic of what she looked like. And I also like to show you, by the way, her parents' names, William Cormack and Mary Brennan. So we heard the name Mary that came through on the spirit box. It is quite common to show up here. Calico Jack. Let's talk about him. He was called Calico Jack because of the jackets he wore. They came from the men that he killed. So that's why he was called Calico Jack. Yeah. He was a very dapper young filthy pirate. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. Do I expect Kingston to pop up through a spirit box? I do not. I expect the word king to show up. That will suffice. So, again, those are the answers to the 2 simple questions that I gave you. Did you guys ask anything else? Anything rogue? Okay. You guys stuck to your guns tonight. So, you guys are great listeners. This was a fun group. You guys definitely kept me on my toes tonight. So, I do... Yeah, unplug the... There you go. So, I'm going to take Mark and... I'll take yours first, and Jeff, yours go in the same pocket.
okay.
It's not colder up here for whatever reason.
Is it just me?
It's normally warmer over here, to be quite honest.
It does
If anybody
feel a
can
little
tell-
bit chillier.
Yeah, it's a little chill.
I've been all night, actually.
If anybody can tell, it would be Tim, because he's got the thermal gun.
Lying.
What's the center?
It's just stuck in my pocket.
You're perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Yeah, it says it's 64.5 degrees over here according to this ambient temperature. So when we first started, it was about 68, 69 degrees, so you're about right. It's a little chillier.
I thought it was some spiritual thing, but alright, it's not.
Well, it should have been colder over where we started anyway because we're closer to the water. It should actually be warmer over here. So I'll take your spirit box.
Look at that.
Yeah, but the white.
But look at that. But watch them. This is
Everybody's red.
Except for Greg, well, there's a lot.
And those two got blue.
It just.
What? Where's
It
the,
might be the
blue?
layers.
look,
Well, he's. Yeah, that is a little odd.
Where the colors?
And he's recording, but it's also sideways, so you guys will be watching it like this.
well, I know, but it's not. I'm sorry.
Are we still blue?
Yeah, like your coat is blue, probably because it's like it's a little bit thicker, so it's going to hang on to the outside temperature a little bit better. It's probably double layered, I'm guessing.
No.
Like you probably have a liner in there of some sort.
No.
No, no liner at all.
That's weird.
Okay.
But I
It
have a
was-
shirt on.
Everybody else was red, but them.
Well, we're good guys.